TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, U.S. President Donald Trump threatens Turkey that unless it ceases hostilities in Syria, it will face a series of additional sanctions, including massive tariffs on steel exports to the United States. After American forces withdrew yesterday from the Syrian city of Manbij, heavily armed convoys with Syrian and Russian flags entered the flashpoint city, a move that seemingly impedes Turkey's declared intent to capture the area. Hundreds of Israelis rallied on Tel Aviv's beachfront promenade across from the Turkish embassy and an American diplomatic mission in protest of Turkey's military operation in Syria. U.S. President Donald Trump threatened Turkey that unless it ceases hostilities in Syria, it will face a series of additional sanctions, including massive tariffs on steel exports to the United States. Speaking from the White House Rose Garden alongside members of the American National Hockey League champion team, the St. Louis Blues, President Trump underscored Washington's resolve to bring an end to Turkey's military operation.
We're asking for a ceasefire. We put the strongest sanctions that you can imagine, but they get a lot. We have a lot in store if they don't have an impact, including massive tariffs on steel. They ship a lot of steel to the United States. They make a lot of money shipping steel. They won't be making so much money.
President Trump also seized the opportunity to once again defend his decision to withdraw U.S. forces from northeast Syria, saying the greatest warriors in the world are not a police force and that the time has come to bring America's soldiers back home.
We want to bring our soldiers back home after so many years, and they're the greatest warriors in the world. They're policing. They're not a police force. They're a different kind of a force. We want to bring our soldiers back home.
Despite Washington's announcement yesterday of its decision to immediately impose a series of sanctions against the Turkish government institutions and individuals, the Turkish military presses on with its offensive in Syria, dubbed by Ankara Operation Peace Spring. After making some territorial gains, Turkish-backed paramilitary forces were obliged to retreat from several border villages when the Kurdish-led forces alongside the Syrian army conducted a successful counterattack that took the Ankara-backed militants by surprise. In addition to this development, the Syrian army and its Russian patrons are taking advantage of the American retreat. Heavily armed convoys with Syrian and Russian flags entered the flashpoint city of Manbij yesterday, hampering Turkey's declared intent to capture the area. It is important to mention that the Russian and Syrian entry coincided with an American retreat from the strategic city, a withdrawal that was broadcast on the Kurdish TV network. In response, Turkey was seen deploying additional armored vehicles and tanks to the border area, indicating Ankara's resolve to accomplish its operations objectives. Meanwhile, in Azerbaijan, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan reiterated the goals of his country's military operation. Speaking at the Turkic Council Summit in the city of Baku, Erdogan said that Turkey's goals include completely eliminating what he referred to as terrorist groups and PKK bases in northeast Syria and returning back to Syria millions of refugees that were hosted by Turkey for the past 8 years.
Barış Pınarı Harekatımızın iki önemli amacı vardır. Bunlardan ilki Suriye'nin kuzeyindeki PKK-YPG kaynaklı terör tehdidinin tamamen ortadan kaldırılmasıdır. Harekatın ikinci gayesi ise 8 yıldır misafir ettiğimiz 3.650.000 Suriyeli Arap'ın kendi ülkelerine, kendi vatanlarına huzuru kalple dönebilmelerini sağlamaktır.
According to President Erdogan, Ankara still aims to conquer the Syrian city of Manbij, from where the Turkish-controlled safe zone he envisions will originate and extend all the way to the border with Iraq.
İnşallah kısa zamanda Manbij'ten Irak sınırımıza kadar olan bölgeyi güvenli hale getirip ilk etapta 1 milyon, daha sonra 2 milyon Suriyeli sığınmacının evlerine kendi tercihleriyle dönmelerini temin edeceğiz.
It is important to know that despite President Erdogan's declared goals for Syria, he is scheduled to receive an American delegation that will be headed by U.S. Vice President Mike Pence in Ankara tomorrow. According to a White House press release, Vice President Pence will echo President Trump's demand to immediately end hostilities in Syria and will work toward a negotiated settlement between Turkey and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. Speaking to TV7, a Turkish source questioned the relevance of an American delegation regardless of its level in light of the pact that was struck between the Kurds, Damascus, and Moscow. Now to London, where the British Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs, Dominic Raab, insisted that the United Kingdom in particular and the West at large need to be very careful not to drive Turkey into the arms of Russia and its President Putin.
From the outset, the UK government has warned Turkey against taking this military action. And as we feared, it has seriously undermined the stability and the security of the region. I think we need to be very careful to exercise absolute clarity with our Turkish partners and allies, to be clear that they must end this incursion, but equally, and I think this was the point that she was making, to avoid driving Turkey into the arms of Russia and President Putin.
In contrast to other European states, the British Foreign Secretary did not clearly indicate London's intention to hold new arms export licenses to Turkey. Instead, Secretary Raab used vague terminology that will allow the UK government leeway in its decision-making vis-à-vis defense exports to Turkey.
The UK government takes its arms export control responsibilities very seriously, and in this case, of course, we will keep our defence exports to Turkey under very careful and continual review.
To do something about shame.
Now we abandon the Kurdish people to be massacred, to genocide by the
Meanwhile, in Israel, hundreds of people rallied in protest of Turkey's military operation in Syria, marching on Tel Aviv's beachfront promenade across from the Turkish embassy, as well as the U.S. embassy branch. The protesters waved both Kurdish and Israeli flags while holding banners calling on the international community to stop Turkey's incursion and arrest President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for alleged war crimes.
Kurdish singer from Israel, and I support Kurdistan, I support Rojava. I ask the community international to arrest Hitler Erdogan now, immediately, because he killed our brothers and sisters, our Kurdish brothers and sisters.
It is important to mention that there is a large Jewish community in Israel of Kurdish origins. According to public information, the Jewish-Kurdish community in Israel amounts to some 200,000 people. Over the years, the Kurdish community in the Jewish state preserved its ties with the ethnic Kurdish communities across the Middle East and have been instrumental in Israel's vocal support for the national Kurdish aspiration for statehood. Thank you for watching us. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our supporters, as your prayers and financial donations are the reason TV7 Israel News and Jerusalem Studio are made possible. I would like also to continue to encourage you, pray for the peace and salvation of Israel as well as the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have a Erev Tov. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time.